Tanzania, like any other African countries, is endowed with various minerals such as gold, diamond, iron, and various gemstones. In recent years, Tanzania has discovered a natural gas in Songo Songo Island in Kilwa district and Msimbati, Mtwara. The drilling of gas in those two areas has been ongoing for at least 6 years now, whereas the towns of Mtwara, Lindi, and Somanga have greatly benefited from getting electricity from natural gas. Quite a good amount of natural gas has also been discovered recently in the deep sea close to Mtwara region, where various companies are continuing with the exploration of gas and oil. This is a clear indication that Tanzania will continue to benefit from natural resources including minerals, gas and oil. The drilling of minerals in Tanzania have greatly contributed to the national income through the collection of various taxes and levies. In East Africa, several countries have been cooperating with the multinational companies in gas and oil exploration, and the efforts have started to produce results. In Uganda, oil fields has been discovered at Bulisa area, Hoima district in Bunyoro region, western part of the country. In Kenya as well, quite a good amount of oil reserves have been discovered, while the gas and oil exploration efforts in Rwanda show a big hope of success. From 4th June 2014 to 13 June 2014, the Revenue Watch Institute, now Natural Resource Governance Institute, a non-governmental organization with its headquarters in the United States, jointly with civil society organizations from Tanzania, JET, Uganda, Acme, and Ghana, PPB, organized capacity building training for journalists on reporting minerals, gas, and oil sectors. The training was conducted in Uganda, where Africa Center for Media Excellence, Acme, were the host. The training drew together 29 journalists from Ghana, Tanzania, and Uganda. Apart from building their capacity, the journalists have also had a chance to know the existing achievements and challenges in mineral, gas, and oil sector. This increased their understanding of some important information which the people need to know but have no access to.
What we have been doing are looking at rigs and a few oil wells, that exploration wells, not now we are talking roads, we are talking pipelines, we are talking refinery. It's a different ball game, right? With different dynamics and all that. So you could focus yourselves on those kinds of areas. Land acquisition, for us whose resources are on land, who owns the land in those areas and the issues that brings up, community and livelihood issues. I know that our NGOs here have really gotten excited with this idea of how men spend their money and why women must get a control of some of this money, men end up marrying and all that, more wives, and those are livelihood issues. Although, I guess you can only tell that story so many times. Once somebody has hammered it in a compelling way, I don't know what new issues you can bring around that story of men and how they are relating with their wives. But still, possibilities for you. Environment, as you've mentioned, the legal and regulatory framework, licensing and contracts. You know how many companies have applied for license? Did anybody mention that? At least for Uganda. How many companies are waiting to get for a new round of awards? Can you guess if you don't know? You can't guess. You make an educated guess. Think oil, think it's big. Think we have 3 now, so how many would we possibly have who are interested in coming into Uganda? Or Tanzania, for that matter? 5. Yeah, in Uganda we have more than 100. Yes, guys who basically are just waiting for the government to say, okay, we are now going to evaluate these applications, license applications, more than 100, because we had put a moratorium on licensing some time back. So those are things you kind of those can give you story ideas, and stories, you know, because what you would then want to do is to be very specific, what kind of companies, and what do you remember the question we were asking about the refinery? You remember when we said there are 4 companies that have been listed? What major question did we ask about those companies, which we thought was good for our journalism, for our storytelling? Their profile. What companies are these? So it's one thing to say 100 companies have applied for licensing in Uganda, but so what? What kind of companies are these? Are they huge? Are they the kind of companies that are going to turn this thing around? Are they the kind of guys who won't, dilly-dally like maybe Talo Oil may, because they are slightly smaller? Are we talking about the real IOCs and all? You see what I mean? Those are the kind of questions you want to ask. So you could have stories.
The 10 days training, including both theory and practice, was conducted by experienced instructors who are giants in environmental journalism, minerals, oil and gas from Ghana, Tanzania, Uganda and the United States. For example, the participants were taught the importance of minerals, oil and gas sector in improving the social services and economic growth in their countries, the importance of transparency in policy formulation, writing contracts between government and investors, and transparency in the operations of the companies investing in the sector. Participants also learned the importance of the people to know the amount of money reaped from the gas and minerals drilling, and the contribution of the companies investing in the sector to the government and the people living around their areas of activities.
Think of extraction of gas. Think of exploration. Think of development. There's nothing like either. There's not a bearing on the environment. And when we talk about the environment, there's no importance of the environment if it has no bearing on the lives of people. Are we there? So we talk about the environment because the extractive industry destroys the environment at various degrees. And because it destroys the environment, then definitely it is a bearing on the lives of the people. That's why. Simple. You remember when we were talking about mining, we said, well, minerals must have economic importance to that country where they're available. Yeah, economic importance. Economic importance to the people. But the environmental destruction also is another bearing on the very same people. So on one hand you get money, on the other hand you lose your environment. So it's important that when we talk about mining, when we talk about the extractive industry in general, you have to talk about the environment and see what happens, what can be avoided, what can be reduced, so that there is a balance between the economic importance of the extractive industry and the human health and as well as the environment.
So all the money that the government collects, corporate tax, income tax from foreigners, expatriates working in the industry, license fees, signature fees, all that money, is collectively referred to as the government take. You see? And the choices the government that have to be made is where to put the money that the government takes. Should it go in the consolidated fund, okay, or what is sometimes called a resource, or should it go into a resource revenue fund, the funds that are created specifically, for holding. Like now in Ghana, we're going to have the petroleum fund, so that is where all the money from the oil revenues will go. And then also you can have in the natural resource, the different types of natural resource funds. Is it a heritage for specific reasons? Okay. Is it for stabilization purposes, for budget support, for instance, in times when we're not collecting enough taxes, so we cannot meet our recurrent budget requirements, so we go into the stabilization fund, get some money, instead of borrowing or instead of running to donors. Investment and development, okay? Invest abroad in non-oil sectors, strategic sectors. Energy is a big thing for our countries, isn't it? So we really need to make a decision where that money, we have to prioritize.
One of the ways is through joint ventures. The big international company, maybe Halliburton, which does transportation, logistics, and Bemuga, the guy who should have been here, his company that is in the same business. They could say, well, company X, say Tal or Total, wants this logistics service provided. So they should come join together and do the job together. That's why they say they should do so as partners versus agents. Let me just write some. So, important sort of things just to terms, joint ventures. Now, there's this thing called partners as opposed to versus being an agent. So, the joint venture that is meaningful is where Halliburton and Bemuga forwarders are partners. What does that mean? It means that you share both the risk and the reward because you each raise, depending on how the joint venture partnership is structured. If you say you have 60% and I have 40%, if there's a deal that is worth $100 million, we bid as joint venture partners where you provide your $60 million, I provide $40 million. If we win and we do a good job and we make money, we share accordingly. If we lose, we'll lose together. That means the local companies are actually making real money. They're partners, not agents. If you're an agent, you're simply paid a fee.
The training participants also got a chance to meet with the top experts in various aspects of oil and gas drilling and share with their experiences in this sector.
And then you go into the production profile, you see there's a peak up there, then finally it goes down and you get to abandonment, I mean the end of the project. Of course, at one time, if you're going to have a specific development, it has to come to an end. And then you get into the phase of restoring, and then you move on. Now this is really kind of a picture that shows you that it's normally a very long-term process. In Uganda, and I don't know whether people normally compare Uganda and Ghana, they say, how come that Ghana discovered oil so fast, rather so soon, and then started producing it? There are different dimensions really. The other one is largely, offshore. So it was just a matter of getting an FPSO after making the discoveries and the like, and then it's a floating production, offloading, and storage. What else?
Floating production,
yeah.
Storage of the
Yeah. That FPSO. Here, Uganda is about 1,500 kilometers away from the main coast of entry, that's Mombasa or wherever. The logistics, as we shall see, are difficult to deliver, and this is by and large onshore. You can imagine the distance and delivery of logistics and the like, and quite a number of things. So it depends really on such circumstantial aspects as well.
Within the supply chain that Bernard showed, the majority, because most Ugandans, most people are not understanding the benefits to the ordinary Ugandan of oil and gas. We look at, most people are expecting that business is going to come, when they hear oil and gas, everyone thinks that now jobs are going to be created, there's going to be a huge boom, and it's the responsibility of government to ensure that trickle down. Government, as a regulator, for them, they are going to take royalties from the resource. They charge a rental for the licensed blocks, and there's a tax benefit because they charge, there's tax, income tax and capital gains tax which is paid to government. But how government spends that money, we have no control over. We can only hope that government can build industry which can employ. We can only hope that government can build infrastructure and improve social services. It's all hope. We are not sure. But now, as ordinary people, how do we get a benefit?
Good governance media can enforce good governance, but before they do that, they must understand the mining sector, how it evolves, what stages the mineral project goes through before you can talk of good governance. Asking the right questions. Not to ask me, do you think they are mining our oil? Don't you think they are taking the oil already in the plane? That guy who is saying he's taking samples, don't you think he's actually taking the gold? So you concentrate on those irrelevant questions and miss, instead of saying, by the way, I want to go and interview this mining company which says it's doing exploration. I just want them to tell me what they have done so far. And you say, well, what have you done so far? You've drilled how many holes? Of what depth? In what width? For 4 years you've drilled only 2. Why are you still having the license? You get it?
During the practical session of the training, the participants also had an opportunity to visit various oil fields in the Bunyoro region and Hoima district. Mining operations and conservation are taking place at Bulisa area, where a dump site for oil waste is being constructed. The training participants visited 4 oil fields among 6 situated at Bulisa area. They also visited the oil reservoir areas, the exploration and trial drilling areas, and lastly, at the dump site for oil waste. When completed, the area will also serve the neighboring countries in the eastern and southern region. Experts from various oil and gas companies shared their experience with the training participants.
What happens is that these sites are licensed by NEMA for waste. Yeah. So it wasn't that it was particularly selected because there's a well or no well, but it's just that they went through certain criteria and this site was suitable. It was already in existence and suitable for the purpose.
It's going to be built, we're starting off with the landfill, so we'll build a treatment platform. We treat water basically through reverse osmosis process, return it to the environment. We're going to build a laboratory here which will test waste, because in terms of a waste stream you have to test it to understand what you're going to do with it. So we'll be building the appropriate laboratory plus the treatment plant. We'll be initially constructing a landfill to contain the waste in. All of these based along international standards. You then need to monitor it for another 30 years to make sure there's no contamination. So in other words, we'll have air monitoring, we'll have boreholes where you take samples from to make sure nothing has come out and contaminated the groundwater. That monitoring from day one that we start operating takes place for probably the next 50 years. Obviously, after 20 years of operation, we need to put away a fund to support the activities of monitoring for the next 30 years. So in terms of what we charge our customers, we're also making provision to rehabilitate and monitor for 30 years that area.
Process is, our objective is that formation, whatever oil is there at the bottom, should not come to the surface. So leave the well in a safe condition. The first well in any field is called a wildcat, where you can get oil or you may not get oil. Once you get the oil, then you determine the extent by drilling at several locations that you expect. Number one, the wells are drilled, exploration well will be drilled at a different place from where you will produce. Exploration is drilled to find out how big is the field, so you might drill at a place where you not want to produce later on. So you will abandon that. There could be several reasons why you will abandon that. But one of the reasons is you don't want to produce from here.
The training also focused on empowering the participant to write in detail the crucial issues like financial management and the benefit of oil and gas fields in their countries. Some journalists who participated in the training also give their account here.
The course to me, or the training, has been of very great importance to me because it has given me those very basic things or facts about the oil and gas and mineral industry or sector that I did not know much about. Previously, I was doing stories and they were
majorly, should I say abstract, based on very little information from here and there, but being part of this training has helped me know where best to get what information from, who I can go to whenever I have any particular story to write.
I would say that the course has been very beneficial in the respect of the fact that I think it would enrich my reportage of the extractive sector in Ghana. Adequately, I think I've been emboldened to enforce and try to report on transparency issues as regards the extractive sector in Ghana. Ghana, we have oil, we have gas, we have mining as well. All these sectors cut across the economic environment, and I believe that with what I've acquired from this course, I'll be able to report much more effectively and hold our government accountable to the people.
Sisi Tanzania tuna mambo mengi ya kujifunza kwa sababu tayari tuna madini. Kuna mambo mengi makosa yamefanyika katika madini. Sasa hivi tuna gesi ambayo tunaiendea. Lakini pia kuna swala la huenda Tanzania tuna maeneo yana mafuta. Kwa hiyo kutokana na kuwepo kwa mafuta, yapo hayo ambayo tunapaswa kuyachukua mazuri katika hizo nchi tatu tukayahamishia nchini kwetu ili tuweze kuboresha. Kwa hiyo hii ni changamoto ambayo tunapaswa kulichukua kama waandishi, tuandike masuala mengi ya kuweza kujifunza kutoka Afrika Mashariki. Tusisubiri kufanya Ulaya walifanya, wapi wakafanya. Sisi tunashindaje kufanya? Tuige kutoka Afrika Mashariki ambao kimazingira, kimatatizo tunafanana. Lakini kuna masuala mengine ambayo yamejitokeza yanafanana kimatatizo, kwamba kuna mambo mengine ambayo yanafanyika huku na yanafanyika kule Tanzania yote yanafanana. Basi turekebishe ili tuweze kutumia hizi rasilimali zilizopatikana katika maeneo yetu ili uweze kupiga hatua kubwa kimaendeleo.
Journalism is a profession like any other and extremely important for the development of any nation in the world. However, some people have been abusing this important profession and take it for granted as the dumping place for unprofessionals and failures in life. This situation has caused this noble profession to fail to deliver, forcing some journalists to use their pen for their personal benefit, leaving their national interests deteriorating.
Nimetembea bara na visiwani, ila nikajionea wendo my number one. Natamani nikupe la sina, nimejaliwa upendo, heshima, maneno ya matamu, sikuibe mama, sunajua binadamu wabaya sana.